Charles Darwin utilized his hypothesis of characteristic choice to clarify development. That is, living beings can adjust and get by in their condition better than their antecedents. These living beings pass their most ideal highlights to their posterity, which proceed with the cycle. However, innovation is as of now meddling with regular choice, in any event in people. Pretty much every tech thing out there today, from our cell phones to the huge advances in medication, are changing our lives quicker than common choice could. People with horrible conditions are enduring and passing these qualities to their posterity. Simultaneously, others are growing new well-being challenges caused by overreliance on innovation. Cesarean sections make women's hips narrower. Cesarean areas are leaving ladies with littler pelvises. Hundreds of years prior, ladies with little pelvises passed on during labor alongside their kids, who could have the qualities for little pelvises. However, these ladies are enduring nowadays as C areas become standard. They are likewise ready to birth youngsters with the qualities and even female kids with slender pelvises, who additionally pass the attribute to their posterity. Studies have indicated that 36 of each 1,000 youngsters conceived today have a tight pelvis. During the 1960s, it was only 30 of each 1,000. At this point, some would begin to ask why characteristic determination didn't leave all ladies with huge pelvises. That is on the grounds that the human body advanced to incline toward littler children that could go through the smaller pelvises rather than bigger infants that could go through more extensive pelvises. Interestingly, C segments are gradually evolving this. Children are expanding regardless of their mom's littler pelvises. This implies C segments will turn out to be progressively normal later on. Mobile phones are causing horns to grow in our skulls. We every now and again twist our necks descending to connect with our cell phones. This is causing the improvement of a hard, horn-like structure at the lower end of the rear of our skulls. Researchers call these little horns outer occipital protuberances. The horns are developing in light of the fact that the bowed head conveys extreme weight at where the neck muscles meet the skull. The skull reacts by prolonging the bone at its back tip, causing the expansion. Individuals with an outer occipital bulge can frequently feel it with their fingers. You may even have the option to see it on a bare person. An outer occipital projection may show up regardless of what we have in our grasp or directly before us. The main condition is that we twist our heads much of the time, which is the thing that cell phones cause us to do. Books do, as well, yet not as regularly as cell phones. Also, not every person understands books. Search engines are making us forgetful. Envision you were posed some irregular inquiry, for example, when Martin Van Buren. What do you do? Review the appropriate response without a second thought, or fire up your web crawler. The vast majority will utilize their web crawlers since they most likely don't recollect the date spur of the moment. Some don't realize he was a previous US president. This is the thing that analysts call the Google impact, the probability of overlooking data you could rapidly scan for on the internet. The condition was uncovered in a recent report by scientists Betsy Sparrow, Jenny Liu, and Daniel Wegner. The scientists found that individuals frequently considered checking the internet at whatever point they were posed inquiries they couldn't reply. They were likewise likelier to overlook data on the off chance that they realized it would be accessible someplace, regardless of whether it was not the internet. A model would be your mate's telephone number put away on your phone. The Google impact happens on the grounds that we regularly recall noteworthy data and overlook insignificant realities. Be that as it may, we can likewise overlook the significant data on the off chance that we can get to it someplace. With regards to our unique inquiry, no compelling reason to Google it. Martin Van Buren became president in 1837. Farming made our jaws smaller. Early tracker-gatherers had huge appearances with conspicuous jaws and teeth. Be that as it may, all these began to vanish when we dumped the tracker-gatherer way of life for cultivating 12,000 years prior. Today, we are left with little jaws without enough space for our teeth. Hunter-gatherers had huge jaws since they did a great deal of biting. They ate uncooked meat and plants that were frequently intense and required heaps of jaw solidarity to cut and bite. This made their jaws more grounded. Notwithstanding, our jaws got more fragile as we changed to cultivating milder harvests that didn't require better jaw quality than bite. Our jaws additionally debilitated as we changed to cooking our meals. The impacts of our freshly discovered cultivating way of life didn't stop there. The switch likewise made our bones lighter and less thick, most particularly around the joints. Be that as it may, this was not brought about by the milder food yet the less exhausting way of life of the ranchers who didn't have to follow, pursue, and execute prey like the processed foods are changing children's faces. The food eaten by youngsters regularly decides the quality and state of their faces, skulls, jaws, whatnot. Be that as it may, most of youngsters conceived these days have anomalous countenances brought about by the monstrous measures of prepared nourishments they begin to devour directly after birth. This is on the grounds that characteristic food sources contain enough supplements required for appropriate facial turn of events. Moreover, as we referenced prior, characteristic nourishments frequently power kids to bite with their jaws, making their jaws and skulls extensively more grounded. Prepared nourishments frequently lessen the chance of biting, prompting extensively more vulnerable jaws. Today, our overdependence on prepared nourishments has made our skulls 5 to 10% littler than those of early people from the Paleolithic era. This issue has been seen in creatures. Youthful creatures raised on prepared nourishments frequently end up with jaw issues that are like those of people. Social media is destroying our lives. Internet-based life has been connected to a heap of issues including gloom, hyperactivity, uneasiness, low confidence, and loss of focus. This is more terrible in young people who structure the greater part of online networking clients. They regularly experience the ill effects of the dread of passing up a great opportunity (FOMO), which makes them check their internet-based life handles more than necessary. However, the connection between online life and these medical issues is obscured as there isn't sufficient research to build up such affiliations. A few pundits even say that internet-based life just seems to cause melancholy and forlornness on the grounds that most clients as of now have those attributes and just go to online networking to meet people. The pundits state this despite the fact that an investigation has just discovered that web-based life causes sorrow and depression. The examination included 143 University of Pennsylvania understudies split into two gatherings. One gathering diminished their time via web-based networking media while the other kept on utilizing it normally. The study uncovered that the people who invested less energy in web-based life delighted in improved emotional well-being and lower levels of misery and depression than individuals who utilized it all the more often. Interestingly, FOMO and uneasiness levels diminished in the two gatherings despite the fact that scientists expected more significant levels in individuals who utilized online life all the more habitually. Analysts accept this was on the grounds that the clients from the two gatherings turned out to be progressively mindful of their utilization of online life while the investigation kept going. Smartphones have reduced our attention span. Our cerebrums have a propelled idea of time. They can foresee future occasions as we participate in our everyday exercises. For example, the cerebrum decides the best time to extend your hand for a handshake, just so your hand will meet the other individual's hand at the privileged moment. Our minds likewise apply this idea of time when we interface with our cell phones. For example, on the off chance that you check your telephone like clockwork, your mind before long predicts this conduct and reminds you to check your telephone at 5-minute interims. After a short time, the propensity meddles with your capacity to focus, making you unfit to focus on whatever you are doing. Rather, you are contemplating snatching your telephone to see the most recent happenings via web-based networking media. Studies have discovered that telephone addicts utilize the mind districts answerable for center. They likewise require more prominent endeavors to focus on an undertaking. The internet is making us unable to cope offline. In 2011, Professor David Levy of the University of Washington's Information School instituted the expression popcorn cerebrum to depict the impacts of innovation on our psychological capacities, that is, our capacities to think and review data. Individuals with popcorn mind are so immersed in their online lives that they become uninterested and incapable to adapt to their lives offline. Levy concocted this idea in the wake of exploring how the internet influenced our lives disconnected. In his investigation, he found that we are constantly keen on perusing each new email and message and visiting sites, wanting to locate some new data. Our mind before long gets used to this pattern and regularly needs us to look for some new data each time. This frequently leaves us with limited capacity to focus, elevated requirements of discovering some new data, and the powerlessness to live our typical lives disconnected. Strangely, Levy's examination bolsters prior research that uncovered that understudies who went through 10 hours per day on the internet have lower subjective capacities than understudies who went through only 2 hours. Technology is causing nearsightedness in children. Nearsightedness, astigmatism, is the most recent medical issue connected to the penetration of innovation into our everyday lives. The insights are horrible in innovative nations like China, where 90% of adolescents experience the ill effects of nearsightedness. 60 years back, just 10–20% of Chinese young people experienced nearsightedness. Myopia levels are additionally ascending in Europe, the United States, and South Korea. In Seoul, more than 96% of 19-year-old guys experience the ill effects of nearsightedness. Evaluations show that 2.5 billion individuals, 33% of the total populace, will experience the ill effects of nearsightedness by 2020. Teenagers are creating nearsightedness since they invest so much energy inside and away from normal daylight, which is significant for the ideal improvement of the eyes. This is the reason nearsightedness levels are low among Australian young people, who invest loads of energy outside. Analysts accept that this pattern could be turned around by presenting youngsters to 3 hours of daylight consistently. Smartphones are causing insomnia. Cell phones consistently get unfavorable criticism for meddling with rest. Well, that is on the grounds that they truly do. Taking your cell phone to bed is the most ideal approach to wind up with insomnia. Smartphones cause sleep deprivation since they are diverting. The sounds and vibrations of calls, notices, and messages can prevent individuals from resting or even wake them from rest. Individuals who take their telephones to bed can likewise wind up checking online life and the sky is the limit from there, making them rest a lot later than they intended. If that was insufficient, cell phones and pretty much every other tech contraption with a screen transmits a blue light that the mind botches for sunshine. This makes the cerebrum bring down the discharge of melatonin, the hormone that tells our body it is the ideal opportunity for bed. This is typically not an issue during the day but rather rapidly becomes one when we are attempting to get some rest around evening time.